Okay, before we begin our lesson, just a little public service announcement here. Remember that you should not have your TV, your radio, or your cell phone on while you're watching these videos. Alright, we're just asking you to focus, please, for about the next, I don't know, 10 minutes, and uh, make sure you're following 100% as you do this. Okay? So, Unit 1, Lesson 9, is the third day of order of operation. Alright? And our objective for today is we want to be able to follow these orders again. Alright, the order of operations is simplified mathematical expressions. Just like yesterday, you do not need to rewrite this information. The only thing I'm asking you to write, once again, is this. Okay? Just as a reminder. Alright, so I'm not going to go through that now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the examples that we have. Alright, so example 1, again, we look at what we have in the problem. Alright, we have multiplication. Now, I mentioned before that we really weren't dealing with signs before, but today we're dealing with signed numbers. So sometimes it helps to include the sign with the number. So for example, this is multiplication. I have a negative 5. Alright, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to include the negative sign with the 6. So again, sometimes we call this minus, but sometimes it's better to call it a negative. Negative times negative is positive 30. And then now all I have to do is drop the 7, because this sign is included in the multiplication. Alright? And then this ends up being 37. Alright, let's look at another one. Example number 2. I have parenthesis work, so I'm going to do the work inside the parentheses first. That is 4. Alright? I'm going to drop all the rest of the information down and decide whether or not I need to put parentheses here. Alright, and in this case I don't, because there's not a number in front to multiply. Alright, now I have same sign, so I'm going to add and keep the sign. Okay, keep in mind, I know this is a minus sign, but when it comes to combining numbers, we could say they're both negative and save us a step. Alright, looking at the next one. I have division, I have multiplication. Do not let these parentheses fool you. There is no operation to do inside of those, and there is no operation to do inside of those. Those parentheses are there to hold the negative with the number to show multiplication. So, we work left to right. We do that first. Alright, positive divided by negative is a negative, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. And I'm going to drop down my negative 4. Okay? There's two ways we could show multiplication. You could put a dot there, or you could continue with parentheses. Now I have a negative times a negative, which is positive. 4 times 4 is 16. Alright, 3 more examples. Number 4. Once again, looking inside of parentheses first, I'm going to do this work. Okay, that's going to give me a negative 20. Same sign, add, keep the sign. I'm going to drop down my other work. And again, I need to do something, because this is not 5 minus 20. That's times negative 20. Alright? And now I'm going to go ahead and multiply. And keep in mind, when I multiply, I should include the sign with the number. So I'm not subtracting 5. I'm multiplying by negative 5. So a negative times a negative is a positive. 5 times 20 is 100. Drop down everything you didn't touch, which is simply just that 4. And finally, I could add my numbers together, and my answer is 104. 104. Alright, moving on. Adding, subtracting, subtracting, and then I have work inside parentheses. So I'm going to do this work first. That's 13. I'm going to drop everything down like that. Okay. Now, I mentioned before there's a couple ways of doing these types of problems. Okay. One way might be to look at all of your negatives and see if you could put them together, and all of your positives and see if you could put them together. Okay, or you could simply work left to right. That's your call. I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to stick with positives and negatives and see where that gets me. Alright, so in terms of positive numbers, only 7 is positive. So I'm going to write positive here. Alright, now I'm going to get all my negative numbers. Okay, so I have a negative 8, negative 2, negative 4, and negative 13. Alright, so that's 10. Alright, 10 plus 4 is 14, and then plus 13 is 27. Now notice I'm saying plus, I'm adding, because I know the rule for addition says when I have the same sign, add the numbers and keep the sign. So I'm adding these numbers together, alright, and keeping the sign, and then finally, after that, I could do my subtraction, different signs, subtract, keep the sign the bigger number, negative 20. Alright, last one. We have a lot of stuff going on here, but I have division first inside of parentheses, so I'm going to do that. Negative divided by positive is negative, so that's negative 3. I'm going to copy everything else down. I'm also going to do something as I copy this down. Alright, we hate double sign problems, so we're going to change that right now to plus 8, plus 2. And remember, this is multiplication here, so I'm going to show that multiplication somehow. Alright, next up is I have addition, and multiplication, so I'm going to do multiplication next. Notice how I'm including that sign right there in front of the number 2. So I have a positive times a negative is a negative. 2 times 3 is 6. And then I'm going to drop all the rest of the stuff down. Alright, notice I'm kind of creating a wall here. Okay, because this is the stuff that drops down. This sign's affected by my work. Okay, now we go left to right because addition and subtraction are equally as important. So that's going to be 23 minus 6. And then the last thing I have is my subtraction and get to 17. Alright, that's all. Don't forget to include at the end your sentence about after watching this video what you could do now. See you tomorrow.